We finally have official information confirming the upcoming skill damage formation coming soon to Rise of Kingdoms, and in this video I'm going to share with you what we know so far and the best strategy that you should be taking moving forward, because a lot of people are going to get excited about this new formation and make a massive mistake that will probably hurt your account in the long run. So we need to talk about this today. But before we jump in, of course, what's going on, guys? Cheers. Now, as you guys know, I'm a sponsored partner created with Rise of Kingdoms, so if you want more Rise of Kingdoms breaking news, consider subscribing down below. We're so close to 100,000 subscribers, and while you're down there, drop a thumbs up. It really helps out the video a ton. All right, folks, let's jump right in here. Now, this information was floating around yesterday. It comes from the Chinese servers for Rise of Kingdoms. For those that don't know, there is an international version. That's the version that all of us are playing, and then there is the version that is exclusive to China, and that version of the game went live with this new announcement. Now, what you're looking at here is a translated version of an official screenshot from in-game. So this is 100% real. This is 100% confirmed. This is coming. New formation live, Wedge Formation II, troops skill damage dealt increased by 12%. This new formation is coming in 14 days. Now, as you guys know, if you've been following the channel for a while, the developers have been extremely transparent about this new formation coming, and we'll talk about it later, but there are more formations confirmed on the way. But really, this new formation should come as no surprise to anybody, because the developers first announced that we would be getting new skill damage, combo damage, and smite damage formations in April of 2025. That is literally almost a year ago. They announced that this was real, coming, confirmed, expect it, prepare for it. And then I reminded everybody back in October of 2025 that this is still a thing. This is still real. You should still be preparing for this. And then a few weeks later, the developers themselves reminded the entire community that this was real. This is coming. Prepare for this. This was November 14th. Okay. So if this is a surprise to you, if you did not know that this is coming, then you really need to subscribe to the channel, because it's been a year that we've been talking about this, and I personally have been banging the drum about this since at least October of 2025. So I've tried to give everybody ample time to save up your conversion stones and your transmutation stones, transmutation crystals. This was guaranteed. This was coming. I tried to warn you guys. I hope you listened, and if you didn't listen, you need to keep watching this video, because I'm going to give you more information about what you need to do with your account. Okay, but anyway, let's talk about what we actually know about Wedge Formation 2 before we get ahead of ourselves. And unfortunately, what you're looking at here is actually the only official information we have right now. I know some people are sharing around screenshots of like text claiming that it is explaining the rare and legendary inscriptions or whatever, and that's not confirmed at all. I'm not saying it's fake, but I'm saying it is definitely not confirmed. All that is officially confirmed is this exact screenshot right here, and I got this from Ihara. I've mentioned them in the past. They are another Rise of Kingdoms YouTuber who does actually have access to the Chinese servers. So if you guys have not checked out Ihara's channel before, I will put their link in the description below, because they did already cover this announcement. Now, the other thing that we have confirmed, and this is from February 25th 2025, I made a video about this as well. The developers confirmed that they plan to introduce a new formation that provides a skill damage bonus in March of 2026. By that time, governors will be able to preview this new formation in game. To ensure a smooth transition to the new formation, we will also launch a wish list progress swapping event for the Wedge formation. During this event, you may choose whether to switch your existing wish list progress for the Wedge formation with that of the new formation. So that is the only other thing that we have confirmed about Wedge Formation 2. We know that it is a universal 12% increase to skill damage dealt, and we know that there will be a way to continue your progress on your wish list, and what form or how they do that we don't know for sure, but we do know that if you've made progress on your wish list for Wedge Formation 1, you will be able to continue making wish list progress for Wedge Formation 2. Okay, so let's talk about this, right? Why did they choose 12%? Well, frankly, this was kind of the most logical place for them to land when it comes to the next iteration of skill damage, right? In past videos where I've talked about this upcoming formation, I've discussed this in length. I've said that my expectation is that the new skill damage formation will be between 10 and 15% skill damage increase. Okay, as we can see, they chose right dead set in the middle, and this makes a lot of sense. 12% was much more likely than 10%, and I know that people might be confused by that because they're thinking like, wait, but pincer formation is 10% smite damage and delta formation is 10% combo damage, so why is it fair that the new wedge formation should be 12% instead of 10%? And the answer is because they already confirmed new smite damage and combo damage formations. Do you understand? So if they bumped Wedge Formation 2 up to 10%, then there is no room for the others to grow without immediately making skill damage obsolete once again, right? So for example, they bring Wedge Formation 2 to 10%, then we already know they're coming out with a new smite damage formation, and that's already 10%, so that is forced to be higher. So whether it's 12, 15, whatever, so then Wedge Formation would immediately be outdated as soon as we see another formation, and we already know it's coming, right? We already know that that is confirmed. So with that being said, the new wedge formation, in order to not immediately be outdated when the new formations land, it had to compensate for that. Okay, it had to bridge that gap. So what we know now is that the new wedge formation is 12%, which means the new smite damage and the new combo damage formations are probably going to be 12% as well. Now, of course, we don't know that. It could be 15%, and then my entire logical argument here gets thrown out the window, because then they do in fact immediately make skill damage obsolete once again. But my point is, if they did 10%, it would only catch wedge up to what was released last year, right? Which just doesn't make sense. We're looking towards the future, we're not looking towards the past. I think this is what a lot of people, they make mistakes in Rise of Kingdoms. They look at the new things come into the game and all they do is look in the rear view mirror and they try to figure out what's going on, but that's not how the developers look at things. They look at what is balanced for the future of Rise of Kingdoms, and so 12% here frankly is right in the middle of my predictions, and it is pretty much the most logical outcome, right? I think upwards of 15% would have been expected and logical, but 12% is fine. That is an 8% increase over the current Wedge Formation 1, which is absolutely massive, right? I mean, that is more than double. It is an insane amount of increase, but the most important part is the inscriptions. Okay, so let's talk about inscriptions here for the Wedge Formation. Now, as I said earlier, we don't actually have the information for Wedge Formation 2's inscriptions. However, I think we can draw some pretty logical conclusions when we compare the inscriptions of other formations to what we can expect for Wedge Formation 2. Okay, so first let's just look. Hunter gives you a 5% boost to skill damage, and when dealing direct damage to a single target, it's increased by 10%, otherwise 2%. Unstoppable is a 5% boost to skill damage, and there's a 30% chance of an increase of 10%. We have balanced, which is a resistance to normal damage by 3.5%, and when you hit 80% rage, you deal 8% more skill damage for 3 seconds. And finally, intrepid gives you a 10% boost to skill damage dealt. Now, intrepid is actually the key here. This is the key to understanding the power creep of what we might expect for this new Wedge Formation 2. Okay, why is that? Well, for the emblem on pretty much every single formation, all you get is a flat boost to whatever that damage type is. Okay, so for Arch Formation, this is the normal damage formation, we see a flat 8% boost to normal damage dealt. Wedge is 10% to skill damage, and when we compare that to pincer, we see 10% boost to smite damage, and when we see delta, that is a 8% boost to combo attack damage. Okay, so Wedge Formation is the oldest of all of these, right? Wedge and Arch, these are the oldest of all of them, and they have an 8 and 10% boost respectively. And then when we look at the new formations, we look at pincer formation and we look at delta formation, we see 8 and 10% respectively. Okay, so when they introduced pincer and delta, they placed them right in line with what was already in the game. Now, the same can't necessarily be said for other inscriptions across the lineup here, right? Like if we look at something like Demolisher and we look at something like Butterfly Effect, these are objectively just better inscriptions than something like Straight to the Point, right? I mean, this actually has a downside to it where you're dealing less skill damage, right? Something like Unstoppable, still really good, but I mean, ignoring 50% enemy defense is kind of insane. There's also a chance at rage generation here, and then if we look at Delta Formation, Butterfly Effect is like really powerful, right? So when we look at the old formations and compare them to the new formations, some of the boosts in the special inscriptions are right in line, and other special inscriptions are a little bit better, right? Now, I do want to point out, this gives you a boost 3.5%. We look at something like Straight to the Point, 3.5%. Unstoppable, that's 5%. Demolisher, that's 5%. So when it comes to the boost portion of these special inscriptions. Even the newer ones are again right in line with what was already in the game. Now that being said, I do think that if they're gonna put a 2 behind Wedge Formation, then it does have to be better, right? Like what are we talking about? We know that these inscriptions for Wedge Formation 2 are going to be stronger than the inscriptions for Wedge Formation 1, most likely. Now they could do that power creep in a couple of different ways. They could just straight up increase the number, right? Bigger number equals stronger formation, or they could just get a little bit more creative with what these things are actually doing, right? But the point that I'm making through all of this is that when you compare the boosts and the resistances of the older Wedge and Arch formation and you compare it to the newer Pincer and Delta formation, they're pretty much in line. So what we can expect is the new Wedge formation will be probably just a little bit better, right? It will definitely be better, almost certainly, but I don't expect these formation inscriptions to be like so insane that it's just an absolute, the whole table is just flipped, right? Like I do not expect that to be the case because of what the developers have already done. They already have a track record of introducing new formations, and those inscriptions for those new formations are already in line with what is in the game. Okay, so the new inscriptions for Wedge Formation 2, will they be stronger? Almost certainly. Will they be super insanely game breaking? Oh my god, it's crazy. I don't think so, right? I suspect that like the emblem might give 12% boost to skill damage dealt, which is not nothing, let me be very clear, but again, I don't think that it's going to be an insane game changer. Maybe it is, right? I could be completely wrong, but just based on the track record of the devs putting the new inscriptions sort of in line with what's already in the game, I think we can expect Wedge Formation 2 to also be sort of in line. I don't expect anything like completely game changing, right? Couple of percent here, couple of percent there. It's business as usual. It's standard power creep in Rise of Kingdoms. If you've played this game for any amount of time, you know what to expect here. Okay, this should be a surprise to absolutely nobody. Again, I don't want to keep banging on the drum here, but I've been talking about these new formations for literally 11 months. Okay, so no one should be surprised here. I think that's the thing that we saw a lot of when they actually went in recently and they changed the talents for some of these commanders, right? We saw a small portion of the community get very upset about this talent change, which didn't really make that much sense, especially now that we know, again, new formations coming, new commanders are right around the corner. They're planning for the future, not looking into the past, as they always do, right? One of the biggest criticisms, however, of that change is that they didn't give us enough notice, right? Like it would have been nice to have some amount of heads up, like, hey, we're going to change the talents, right? So don't invest in Liu Che, don't invest in Attila, like hold off because we're going to change the talents. That heads up certainly would have been nice, right? 1 week, 2 week, whatever, some amount of notice would have been good. So with the new formation, okay, we have a nearly 1 year advance notice that this is coming. Okay, so again, there is absolutely no reason to be shocked or confused or oh my god, how could they do this? Like they told you a year ago, and I've been telling you all along. Okay, so this is the most notice we have ever gotten for power creep and Rise of Kingdoms, and it's not even close, right? It is insane how long ago they told us that this was coming. Okay, so what do we do about this? And this is the part of the video where I'm going to give you guys my advice on how you should handle this new upcoming skill damage formation. Okay, because there are huge implications for the meta here that we need to talk about. All right, the first thing that we have to talk about is, will Ragnar Scipio come back to the meta? Will Hua with Arthur come back to the meta? And the answer is yes, but not really. And the reason for that is because yes, this new formation, it will objectively make these commander pairings stronger than they currently are. I mean, again, it is more than doubling their current formation bonus, right? Like this is obviously going to be a massive improvement for those commander pairs, such that I do think that people who have Wedge Formation 2 for their infantry or for their cavalry will probably have really good results in the open field for 2026. Because when we think about Ragnar Scipio, right, it's only within the last 3 months that people have been benching their Ragnar Scipio for other things that are focused more on smite damage. And so when we think about, okay, Ragnar Scipio was up until very recently competitive with the open field meta, and many people, let's be honest here, are still using Ragnar Scipio, right? Like there's nothing wrong with still using them, even if there might be better options available for heavy spenders, right? For free-to-play or low spenders, like that still is the best thing that they can do. So if we look at this commander pair and say, okay, if it was up there in competitiveness with a super old formation, then once you buff that formation, clearly these commanders are going to start performing better, in which case it may actually land them in your best 6-7 army lineup, right? Like obviously that's going to be the case. But here's the most important part, and this is the reason that you clicked and watched this video so long. Okay, this is why you came to my channel. I'm going to tell you, do not get Wedge Formation 2 for Ragnar CPO. Do not get Wedge Formation 2 for Hua with Arthur. Okay, do not do it unless you are a giga whale who is spending 6 figures a year on Rise of Kingdoms. Do not do that. Okay, yes, in the short term it will definitely make you perform better in the open field. There's no question about that, because the numbers are bigger, right? They will just perform better. However, we already know that the future of infantry is smite damage. The future of cavalry is combo damage. Okay, and so even though there is a way to squeeze more value out of your commanders with this new formation, if you just keep the older ones in play, we already know that a new smite damage formation is coming. We already know a new combo damage formation is coming, and the second that happens, Ragnar CPO hits the bench again. The second that happens, Woe with Arthur hits the bench again. The problem is that it is extremely expensive to convert your armaments from one formation to another. So what's going to happen here, and people are going to get too excited, I already know it, I'm making this video, I'm telling you what's going to happen, and people are still going to make mistakes, just like they made mistakes of investing in the wrong things when I've been saying since at least October. You should have been listening to what I've been saying about this. They're going to invest in Wedge Formation 2 for skill damage infantry and skill damage cavalry, because content creators are going to make videos saying, hey, technically these are the best 3 army lineup for infantry, the best 3 army lineup for cavalry, right? That's going to be the case for the next 6 to 12 months, at least 6 months, right? That will objectively be true, but that doesn't mean you should get them. Okay, because you're going to spend 20 to 30, if not more, conversion stones converting your Wedge Formation 1 to Wedge Formation 2 for infantry, and then they're going to drop a smite damage formation, and you will have no more conversion stones for what really matters. Okay, so the only people, listen closely, okay, the only people that should be getting Wedge Formation 2 are the archer mains and the absolute giga whales. Okay, if you are not spending a tremendous amount of money on Rise of Kingdoms every year, do not convert to Wedge Formation 2 for infantry or cavalry. It will not age well. You will see a short-term benefit at the expense of long-term progress. I'm mark my words, I'm saying it right now, that is my expectation. Now let me be clear, I could be completely wrong. Okay, we could see Wedge Formation 2 bring skill damage up to the current level of combo and smite damage, and then the next smite formation could be for rally garrison. There is a non-zero chance that that is what's going to happen. Okay, but considering the fact that we see literally just a flat, they just slapped a 2 here and bumped the number up, I think we kind of have an idea as to what we might expect from the next combo and smite damage formations. So what most players should do with this new information is, first of all, if you have any formation choice chests on your account, you should be saving them. Do not open these. That you would be a fool to open these right now. I don't even care if you have Kingsland this weekend. I just understand that opening these chests right now is the wrong play for the future of your account. It might make the most sense for upcoming Kingsland, sure, I get that, right? And maybe you make that decision, that's on you. It is a game after all, so just do what makes the most sense for you having fun. Okay, objectively the best thing to do is save the formation choice chest, and like I said months and months and months ago, you should be saving transmutation stones for this new formation. Now, should you use your conversion stones on this new Wedge formation? The answer is yes, but only for your archers, unless you are a giga whale. Your archer march is the only thing that should probably be being upgraded to Wedge Formation 2, because this is the only troop type that we know is going to continue to get skill damage commanders into the future. We have no idea if we're ever going to see another skill damage infantry or cavalry, right? And the odds are pretty low. I'm just going to come out and say it. The odds are pretty low that we see another skill damage infantry or another skill damage cavalry commander land in Season of Conquest, right? Maybe they add a new civilization in the future, and that's like a KVK1 commander that's, you know, cavalry with skill damage. Maybe that's the case, but it will not be endgame meta most likely. So only archer players really should be considering using their conversion stones for Wedge Formation 2, because again, let me just remind you guys, okay, there is a bundle. If you are low on conversion stones, there is a bundle, but you only can get about 40 something conversion stones from maxing this bundle, and I think the $100 tier gives you 5 conversion stones and you can buy it 7 times or something like that. So the conversion stones in Rise of Kingdoms are extremely expensive, and you only get, I think, 8 conversion stones every kvk. As long as you hit every single achievement, you get 8 conversion stones per kvk. That's not even enough to convert a single legendary or special inscription armament. Okay, so if you convert all of your infantry and cavalry to Wedge Formation 2 as well, first of all, you probably can't afford to do that if you're a regular player, because even I can't, right? Second of all, if you do that, then in 6 to 12 months, when we see another formation land for smite damage or combo damage, you simply will not have enough to take advantage of that, and you will be forced to continue to use your Ragnar CPO a year from now because you didn't do the right thing when it comes to conversion stones. Okay, so I'm warning everybody now, that is the correct play. That is what you should be doing for this. Will this bring Ragnar CPO back? Will this bring Hua Arthur back to the meta? Almost certainly, right? At least in a 3-army lineup, almost certainly. But that does not mean a majority of people should be building their account in that direction. I hope that I'm making myself clear here. Hopefully you guys understand what I'm talking about, is again, we already know new formations are coming down the pipeline. The prophecy was foretold. It is now coming true. Do not expect the rest of the prophecy to not come true. Okay, they said it's happening. It will happen. In 2026 alone, we will see at least one other formation land, right? Whether it's combo or smite damage, it will happen. Okay, so don't make the mistake. And I'm really drilling this in because I'm already seeing people that are frustrated with this new formation, and it's just like, I don't know what more could the developers have done, right? They gave you a year. They gave you a year, 11 months to prepare for this. Like, this is the most generous they've ever been when it comes to being completely transparent about, yes, power creep is coming. It will come. It is definitely happening, and we've seen them double down time and time again. So hopefully, if you guys have been kind of just ignoring this and pretending like this wasn't gonna happen or whatever, like, hopefully this is the wake-up call. Okay, so don't be that guy that makes the mistake with Wedge Formation 2. The only exception to this is if, when this new formation comes, if they give you an event that gives you a bunch of conversion stones or a bunch of transmutation stones, a bunch of transmutation crystals, like if there's an event that launches alongside this, then okay, if you get a bunch of new conversion stones, then sure, maybe. If you've got a lot, okay, go ahead and do it. But let's be honest here, I don't think that a lot of people, even with the new event, I don't think they would be generous enough to give us 30 conversion stones for free, right? Like, what are we talking about? Of course they're not going to do that. So since that's unlikely, okay, I just don't think that we're going to see people, when this comes out, that they're just going to have, oh, I have so many conversion stones, I don't even know what to do with them. It's like, I don't think anyone's in that position unless you're a Giga Whale. The last thing I want to touch on here is that right now we have the LA community meetup at the end of this week, which I will be there. I will be there in person. I don't know if I'm going to make content about it or whatever the case might be, but there is a good chance that we could learn more information about Wedge Formation 2 in less than a week. Okay, so that means the new inscriptions, perhaps more information about any events that could be tied to this formation launch or anything like that. Maybe they'll even tell us more information about future formation. I have no idea. I genuinely don't know, but I will be there, so I will find out. So if you guys don't want to miss any more upcoming breaking news for Rise of Kingdoms, subscribe to the channel, and if you made it all the way to the end of this video, consider dropping a thumbs up on it. It really does help out the channel a ton. And comment down below your thoughts on the new Wedge Formation 2. Did you take my advice? I warned you for a year. Did you take my advice or not? I'm really hoping you guys did, because that's the whole point of this channel. I'm trying to give you guys the best advice possible for your account, so this stuff doesn't surprise you and ruin your fun. Okay, anyway guys, with that being said, thank you so much for watching. This has been Omniarch. I'll talk to you guys again soon. Peace.